Hello and welcome back to Blue Crescent Tarot. My name is Deanne and I am back for the first time in a very long time with a pre-recorded video, which is a VR hashtag response to Chris at Elemental Cartomancy. And this is called hashtag How I Use Oracle. So I figured this was a great one for me to use to jump back into in terms of trying a pre-recorded thing. I have a new little camera set up. I am ready to go with this one. I probably could do a part 2 and a part 3 of how I use Oracle because it is such an integral part of my practice. I am not really sure about my total deck count right now, but I believe I'm about half and half with tarot and Oracle. So Oracle cards are definitely something I use really regularly in my practice, and as I said, probably equally with tarot. So I wrote out a little list of the different ways that I use Oracle. I stopped at about 7 or 8 different kind of categories because, again, I could probably go on and on, but I wanted to choose like 7 or 8 specific ways that I use Oracle to show you in this video, and then if I feel really bothered by it, I will come back and do a part 2. So here are just a few things that we will be working with today, and let me go ahead and clear them out so that we can kind of go in order of the list I made here. So these two can stay for now. So one of the simplest ways that I use Oracle is to do a 1-card spread, right? Just really simple, just like you would do a single card tarot. I will often use these as just a simple, straightforward message for the day, an energy that I need to focus on, or something like that. So this one here is the Enigma deck by Daniel Martin Diaz, and there are a couple different versions of this. I believe this is a second edition, and there is a smaller version of this, which I would love to have someday because, as you will see in a moment, I love to layer cards. So I would love to layer a smaller one on top of this. But for now, let's go ahead and crack into this. So this was one I'd had on my list for a while, and I think for some time it was sold out, out of print, something like that. And then when the second edition came along, title card here, when the second edition came along, then I was able to get this. Just as a side note, this is really thin cardstock, but don't be alarmed by that if that's something you're thinking right now, because it's a really beautiful high quality linen, and so it's great that it's thin actually, and it's great for riffling if that's something that is important to you. So here are the backs and some of the card examples, which I love when there are numbers on things, even if it doesn't come with a meaning or an association for the numbers, because I will just always use the numerology that is given to me, even if it's not intended that way, or if it's not, written in the book or something that it is intended that way. This does come with a PDF, by the way, to give you some guidance on this, and it's also sold in like bingo cards as a game. So just a couple side notes for you. So here we have some different examples. In my opinion, not exactly, your standard oracle. This one is maybe, I'm going to say a little darker, but that's only because I'm lacking words right now. It's not necessarily dark. It's just a different sort of feel. I love rain. I love that there's an umbrella card. That was one of the major reasons I got this deck. So here we have divining, and even though it seems like very ritualistic, right, with the red and the black, we do have, again, like these lighter colors, but just the overall feel of it is a little quote-unquote darker, for lack of a better term. Just some different kinds of keywords and images than you might see in mass market, or whatever you want to call them, oracle decks. So beautiful. The tree and more kind of rain happening. So how I might use this, I have it out as an example for my daily draw. So if I drew, let's not use that one because I'll have a similar message later on probably. So knowledge, let's say I do a single card draw and I come up with knowledge. So this is going to tell me for that day that, maybe I need to keep my head down and focus on work, but something that's new to me, right? Attaining new knowledge. So maybe keeping my head down and really getting some work accomplished, but also taking my work breaks and attaining some knowledge for myself, right? Maybe I will learn something new about the tarot or about numerology, right? This is telling me that there's something out there for me. There's this spark that I need to follow and that there's something new for me to learn that day. So that would be an example of how I would use that in a single card draw and actually, while we're on that note, I didn't have this one set, but let's take a look at what I'm currently doing, something that's in practice. I am using the Illuminated Earth Oracle, and this is by Claire Mac Arts, and you can find these on Etsy. I'm not sure, she has 2 Oracle decks. I'm not sure if they're both still available or not, but definitely beautiful artwork, one of my favorites. So this deck is one I'm using for December for a daily oracle, and I'm pairing it with the Golden Thread Tarot by Tina Gong at Labyrinthos, and this is what I'm taking my daily draws from for tarot card. So each month I do something a little different. Sometimes I'll do a 3-card draw every day. Sometimes I'll do single. Sometimes I'll do a single oracle and a single tarot, and that is what I'm doing for December. So putting them around this way. So Page of Pentacles and balance. So I would read these in conjunction and have that be my message for the day, right? So Page of Pentacles and having this kind of open and inspired outlook on the day, something maybe to do with the material physical world, and using this balance card to further that message. So not being so up in my head with this page energy as I read as air, but keeping some grounded balance while I'm feeling inspired for whatever that next path is for me. So there's an example of how I'm actually using Oracle on a daily basis in this current month. Let me kind of clean up as I go here. So another way that I would use a single card oracle is for a focus on meditation. So for the Inner Star Oracle, I love using this for if I'm needing something to sort of focus on in a meditation, which might sound strange to some of you, but in my meditation practice, the idea is not that I'm clearing out completely, I'm not clearing my head completely of thoughts, but that I'm allowing the space and the timing and the pace for one thought to come across my quote unquote table at a time. So I might draw one out of here and say, okay, take the next step. So then my meditation is going to be focused on that. I would do my little pre-meditation clear out and think only about taking the next step and what that might mean. Okay, so which area of my life is this talking about? And still get into that nice clean headspace, but then just focus. I would probably look at this for 5 minutes before I go into a meditation and focus on the design and just kind of letting the mundane thoughts go and then leaving this as my focus. I might even kind of include that 5 minutes in my meditation and then go into closed eyes and continue visualizing this. So this would also be what I would call a couch deck. Like I could sit on the couch and just flip through this and pull out different different cards and just use the keywords and phrases, or I might even have this little book out with me, draw a card maybe on one of my work breaks, and then read about co-create magic. Or I might just take the book with me, and again, when I get a little work break or I need to shift my focus off of my screen, then I might just go through and work my way through the book. Does have the little images here on the side too, so that would work. So there's a couple ways I would use that one: a meditation prompt, in a manner of speaking, or as a little couch deck. So then let me check my list to make sure I'm staying on track here. So then the next one I have is a line reading, which just means, you know, we've done one card draw and one oracle and one tarot, and now I'm thinking about like a 3 or 5 card spread. So this is the beautiful Cosmovisions by James R. Eads, and this is an oracle deck that it explores the spaces between the tarot cards. Essentially, it's a lot about, in my opinion, kind of journeying through and what are those in-between steps, maybe that liminal space, if that's something that you're into. What are the steps in between? Yeah, so I won't go too much into the philosophy of all this, but as an example of a 3-card oracle, just like you might read a 3-card tarot, we have the Maze, the Mystic. Oh, and there's 2 here actually. We'll make it 4. So the majors, there is a major arcana in this deck, and I also love that. I love when there's a structure to an oracle. I don't need one, but I do love that because I will then play with those concepts in terms of creating spreads. So the Maze, the Vessel, the Mystic, and the Protector. So then I might read those, and I think these go right together because it's a creates like a panoramic of the scene, just like the Cosmovisions tarot. So I would read this as, okay, I'm finding my way through. There's something ahead of me and I'm not exactly sure which way to go with it. There's something for me to figure out. There's another side for me to reach here. The Vessel. In this case, I might read this as like the tool or the resource that's going to help me with this. The gold light coming off of this, and these little pools of gold light here throughout the maze. This is kind of making me think that that this will be sort of a resource or a guiding light as I make my way through this maze. And I'm also thinking about the emotional aspect of it, because when I see Vessel, I think cup, I think that emotional, like the Suit of Cups in tarot, something like that. And then we have a couple here. So I think when I get to the other side of this maze, there's going to be this moment where either I am the mystic or I encounter someone who has that mystic energy. And then the protector energy is going to be needed, right? I might get a heads up about a conflict, and then I would need to do my best to again either become the protector or seek out a protector. And in this case, I might actually might even draw another card to answer this question about, am I the mystic or is someone else? And am I the protector or is someone else? Especially because I didn't have an intention set when I drew these. That might be, and I do that sometimes. Sometimes I just go. So then I might build off of this and answer those questions for myself. So there we have a line reading for using Oracle. And I'll just put these back here so we have something to look at while we're switching gears. So then the next example I have is to use them in conjunction with a tarot card, which we saw with my current practice daily draw with the Golden Thread Tarot and the Illuminated Earth. But let me show you a little bit bigger one. Chris had mentioned in his video that he hears a lot of people say that they use oracles as a clarifier for a tarot reading. And I've definitely said that before, but I think I just use that as sort of a catch-all. I use them as a clarifier, I use them as a summary card, I use them as a main theme, I use them as a reminder. So at the end or at the beginning, I may draw one and say, okay, this is the main part of this. Or if I'm doing a Celtic cross or a Romney spread, some of those bigger spreads for a client, and then at the end of it, I'm feeling kind of like, well, there's a lot of contradictory or balancing out of cards here, which happens a lot because the tarot is sort of built on these balance concepts. But sometimes I get the idea that if I just give the client that, they may be kind of still at a standstill because everything kind of balances out. So then if I draw an oracle card, I will kind of ask, okay, what's the main thing, the takeaway that I need to tell my client? And then that will kind of help draw the important threads of the reading out. Okay, this is where you should focus first. Even though everything looks like it's going to be okay and balance out, maybe they still feel like there's an unanswered question. So I'll say, okay, this, let's say the card is unity. I'm just making this up as I go. But let's say I draw an oracle card and the keyword is unity. Then I'm going to say, okay, the important parts of this thread, the threads of this reading are that when you get to a point where you're not sure what to do, always go to the side of unity and connection with whoever else is involved. That will be sort of the guiding force through the map of cards I've given them. So that is one way that I would use an oracle as a clarifier or a theme card or summary, something like that. So in conjunction with tarot, let me grab my new choice, Tarot de Marseille, and the Antiquities of Magic Oracle. So I came in here to my tarot room a few moments early before I started this, and I didn't exactly have a really well thought out plan about which decks I was going to take, but I brought my list in and I just kind of looked around and just used kind of whatever came to mind first, because I can be very stuck in the details and I could have spent an hour in here looking for, the perfect decks to show you, but I'm just going to hope that these are going to work out right. And I really don't have any doubt that they will, because again, if you've been around my channel, you probably know that I love mixing systems, mixing cards, layering, all of that kind of thing, and I can make anything work together. So on that note, let's have a little sip. Okay, so in conjunction with tarot, and I will keep this small so that I don't get crazy with a huge reading or anything like that. Let's just draw a couple. Let's go 3, because I'll do a little bridging thing that I sometimes do. So just a beautiful deck. Again, new choice, Tarot de Marseille. Okay, and this is by Rosario Salerno. He has a new voice tarot coming out. I have not had my eye on it in a while, and I need to check on that, but that would be an RWS, modeled after that system. So here, I'm so distracted by the beautiful colors. So we have our 3 cards out, and then we're also going to see with our, except you'll have to excuse me, I have the little title card in here separated because I also use this deck as a Lenormand, which is something I was going to show you, but now I've kind of scattered that around, which is fine because I will remember enough to be able to show you. Okay, so we have our 3 tarot down, and then we're going to say, what about the steps between this, right? So kind of like the Cosmovisions concept, I would do before that deck came out, and Kelly Fitzgerald I don't remember if it was 2 years ago for Tarot-thon where she did, I think it was called Ghost Cards or something like that, where she was talking about the invisible card that exists between these two and between these two, right? And so that's sort of where I'm going with this as well. Though instead of using the cards that come naturally in the sequence after, like Four of Cups, that I have, at least for the last 5 to 7 years or whatever, when I started reading in a shop, I especially would do this. I would draw little bridge cards in between. So we have the bull and we have the blindfold. So this would be telling me that in between here, in between this wands moment and stepping out onto this path, that before we get to this pentacles moment with we have two valets here. So before we get to this pentacles moment, and this especially helps because we have these similar kind of energies here, I'm going to say, okay, if this is sequence, you know, is this past if I didn't set positions? Is this past moving into the present? Like you're kind of switching elements, you're switching the concept or the path that you're on. And I would say yes, because here the oracle card is telling me that there was resistance with this, with the wands energy. And so that maybe it's time, again, if I did a blind reading and didn't have position set, then I would say it's actually time for you to let go of this resistance or accept that resistance and move into this phase of pentacles and kind of grounding and finding this path that has more to do with financial, material, physical health, the home, right? It's time to kind of stay more grounded rather than going off on this like passion quest of, creativity or whatever, that you're going to maybe have to come back to that because there was some resistance here, and it's time to kind of reground and center and find your home base, and then use your intuition to then move into this Three of Cups moment, right? And then maybe the Wands energy can follow this Three of Cups, but it looks like there needs to be this gathering in this social aspect. Using your intuition from this place will help get you into this social scene, and then maybe you will have this re-inspiration to get into this Wands mode if that's something that's still calling to you. So that's how I would use these little, what I call bridge cards or like stepping stones to read between the cards. Hopefully that made sense. Again, not asking questions or anything like that. And a lot of times, here's a fun fact, I don't have questions. Sometimes I will reach out to my client group and ask if anyone has specific questions they would like answered. More often than not, I do blind readings and I just offer up a spread or a concept and they will say, yes, I would like that. And then I do a blind reading with no question like I just did there. So, side note, but something that might be of interest to you. So then while we have our Antiquities of Magic Oracle out, I will go ahead and show you another way that I use Oracle, which is as a Lenormand deck. So this one I've only done a couple readings with. I've also done this with my Mildred Payne. Kelly Bear also has on her channel a little flip through of the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, which she uses to show you which cards she has designated as the Lenormand cards. Some of them are direct and some of them you would need to make up kind of on your own or use them in a different way. But I'll just pull out some. I won't show you the full 36 that I have redone, but I'll show you a couple of the alternates that I decided that aren't actually, like the Sun or the Heart, which is actually a Lenormand card. Here I use the horse as the rider. So anyway, let's go through just a few examples and I will show you how I use this as Lenormand. So the house would be the house. Horse would be our rider. Heart is the heart. The lizard in this deck is the one I use as the child card, which I think is so adorable. The flower bouquet is the bouquet. Fish is the fish. Tree is the tree. Wreath is what I use for the ring. Sun, star, and snake, which are all Lenormand cards. So there are 36. This is a deck of 54, and I have gone through and pulled out 36 to create a Lenormand deck, and then I can use this as Lenormand. Not that I'm hurting for a Lenormand deck, I have lots of them, but it's just fun to be able to transform one deck that's meant for one thing into something else. For me anyway, that's a fun little thing that I like to do. So let me check my list here. We are doing pretty well. Let's go ahead and look at the Energy Refocus. So this is a Kelly Fitzgerald spread that I use, I think at this point, exclusively with her deck. So I've gone ahead, this is her Journey Oracle. Now I've pulled out the 7 cards that represent the chakra points. And then in my mini version, this mini, by the way, is not currently available. I don't know if it's coming back or not. So I'm a little sorry that I'm showing this to you. But she does have journey tokens, which are these little wooden hexagons. And you could use the tokens on top of this regular sized Journey Oracle deck, like I'm about to use the minis. Okay, so you still could do this. So I don't ever remember exactly the way that this is set up, but it doesn't really bother me. So you're gonna put these together. I really like that these are all fitting. I didn't try this out before in my camera view, I mean. And there we have our 7, the cards that relate to the 7 main chakra points. So we have grounding and security for the root, passion and balance for the sacral, will and confidence for the solar plexus, serenity and heart for the heart chakra, voice and truth for the throat, intuition and wisdom for the third eye, and guidance and higher conscious for the crown chakra. So then what I would do, I believe Kelly does these on the cross quarters, right? So we have equinox, we have solstice, things like that. And then in between those, there are what are called cross quarters. And I have started sort of marking those or celebrating those with this reading. Though admittedly, I'm not always paying close enough attention, and so I will just kind of use this whenever I feel drawn to. It's a good way to kind of ground myself, and if I feel like I need a little energy reset, that's what I will do. Now I think she calls this an energy reset or energy refocus, something like that. I might be mistaken though, because I used to call the meditations that I would teach in the dance studio, I would call those energy refocus meditations, and so I might be making that up, but it's something like that. So then I would shuffle the smaller deck, or in your case, if you are out of a mini, you could use her casting system. And then I would draw a card for each one of these, and I'm not going in order. If I did this, I probably would have started down here, and let's do that actually because it works out nicely, and that's probably what I would actually do. So I would go around just in the same way that I did, and trying to keep these nice and orderly. Now you can read these in different directions. You can let the hexagon turn. I look at that, intuition for intuition, but I by and large leave them upright. So then I would read, we have the south, or the middle is the keyword here in the grounding. So this to me, like without getting into the meanings, there is a guidebook available on Lulu for this deck. Without getting into any other meanings. I'm just gonna like do a quick look for the sake of this video. So for the South, for grounding, I'm just gonna take this as like this double assurance, this I don't know, like a confirmation that I really need grounding, that I'm not grounded right now. Because South says to me, this downward energy, I need to be rooted. I really need to figure this out. So take some time for myself and get grounded, whatever that means for me. Going for a walk, going for a drive, something that sort of anchors me. So then middle world and passion. So this is making me think about this, the current realm, the current phase, and to find something to set my passions in that are in the here and now. Water as emotion in the will, which is our solar plexus, where things from the higher self come to meet things from the earth plane self, again, in my opinion. So this water and emotion means I need to be flexible in the solar plexus and not let myself get carried away with anxiety. That's what that means for me. Serenity, lower world, below. So this is making me think of like winter and kind of hibernating and like drawing within, and maybe taking some time to learn and study and sort of enrich. Now, again, this is just me, just intuition going off here. Diving into something, setting roots down into something, exploring roots during this winter season, so that I can, again, stay really grounded. Plant and physical support in the throat chakra. So this means for me right now, I do need some physical support. I am, I don't know, about 30 weeks pregnant. And yesterday, I asked for my husband to massage my upper back and my neck because my neck issues and headaches were kind of coming back, and I'm not really supposed to be taking medication. And so I said, I know I haven't asked in a while. And he said, I'm so sorry, I should be doing this more. And so this is just my reminder to voice what I need, to voice that I need physical support sometimes. So he gave me upper back massage yesterday, and my headache went away and everything was great, right? This, again, just a confirmation of what I need to do. Intuition, again, doubled up, not unlike South in the grounding, right? So even though the key word for South is middle, for me, with that coming up there, that just means, yes, really get grounded and really get anchored. So here we have intuition doubled up on the intuition card. So that's just really telling me, trust my intuition, don't second guess, don't ramble like I am now about explaining or over explaining myself. Just trust what I see and what I know in that area of intuition and go with it. So there's that. We will get these picked up. If you have not seen my Only 10 Decks VR hashtag to Katie Flowers, feel free to check that out. It's a bit long, but I did it live, but about the first 45 minutes shows my 10 decks. And I love all of my decks, and I probably have 200 or 300, but this is a deck that is in my 10, and it never went off that list. It was the second deck I showed in that video, and it's amazing, and it's a must-have for me. So again, if you're interested, you can order the regular size, and the casting system is also still available. So I highly recommend those. They're very basic but thorough, and I think you could use them for lots of different things. So next, I think we're about done. I think I have 2 more things to show you. So with the Kim Cran's Wild Unknown Archetypes, this is a series I'm working on right now on my channel every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. We go through 2 or 3 cards. I have pulled out a self, a place, a tool, and an initiation ahead of time. So this, one of my favorite spreads ever, is in this deck and book. So I'm going to show you, it's called the Inner Quest. I use this for myself, and I also use this for past life questions that I might have. So you separate the deck into the four suits basically, which again are selves, places, tools, and initiations. So this answers who, where, with what, and why. So this could be used for this Inner Quest spread or for past lives. Like I mentioned, it works really well for me, and that for covering those aspects. But you could also just use it to answer these questions. So card 1, the archetypal side of the self that is most dominant in the story. I'm just going to read the first sentence. Card 2, the archetypal setting for the journey you are on. There's, again, more information here, but I'm just trying to keep this a little more brief. Card 3, the archetypal tool you must see, find, or give up so destiny can unfold. And then Anima Mundi for our why, the deeper purpose of your journey. This is the mythic theme or challenge that you will face as you approach your growth edge. Think of this card as what your entire journey is about. So that one I read you the whole bit, so it kind of summed up for you. Hopefully that makes sense. This is another staple that I use. And you could even use tarot or a different oracle deck for this, but obviously this is set up to answer those specifically. But again, I love playing around with different ideas and using different decks. So there we have it. And then I think we are to our last example. And if I find that I left something out, I will add it to my part 2 if I do one. I'm kind of joking, but I might just end up doing that. So I wanted to show my Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, and while I'm not going to do a full Romney spread today, which is 3 rows of 7, and then Mildred Payne, I gave the example the other day that I might use these at the top of a Romney spread to be like a topic card. So I'm going to show that, and actually I'll at least get my mini out on my Radiant Wise to show a little bit of that setup, though we won't talk through it today. So each column represents a different category of, you know, the situation, the environment, what's going on right now, so on and so forth. It ends with the distant future. So if I'm laying these out, 3, 4, 5. Nice to know that it fits though, because I do want to show this in detail sometime, but this will be its own video. I've mentioned it probably 20 times on my channel. So we have this, I'm just going out of order here to show you the shape. So in some examples of this spread, the top row is past, present, future. I think maybe sometimes I've seen it past, present, future, but the columns are generally the same. So just to give you an idea, it gives you like a cross section of meaning, and you basically read like these 3 cards, the Lovers, the World, the High Priestess, as this might have been in order to do a flip through, but anyway, you would read Lover's, World, and the High Priestess as what's going on right now, where the person is, their situation or environment, and you would read these as like 3 aspects of that situation, right? So on top of this, this is a lot of information even by itself. Again, not doing these in order, just filling out the grid here. So looks a bit like a Grand Tableau in Lenormand, yeah? So as if the Romney weren't enough for you to decipher, but really no, it's fun and it's not that bad. Sip, sip. So then I might have topic cards, and this might be pulling out that theme like I was talking about earlier. So I'm just going to put it right on top so you can see the cauldron, the candle, the door, the snake, the coin, the spider, and the poison. Oh, poison on the devil. There you go. So the cauldron might tell me that the present situation is about creating something magical. It's about manifesting and putting together all of the resources that you have to make exactly what you want. And I would say that goes along really nicely with this Lover's World and High Priestess, making an important choice with long-term, sorry, I'm bumping the camera here, something with long-term results or consequences. The world, this completion and satisfaction and accomplishment, and the High Priestess, right? Examining the veil and finding out what is really there. This cauldron seems to kind of pull out those themes, right? So again, this is just me layering more stuff on top of the Romney candle. So a light leading the way, or using what you have to find your way. Justice, strength, and the Emperor. This is, I would say, using the right tool, using what you know you need at the time, and not being afraid to kind of light up the dark a little bit as you're working through. These are can be sticky energies, right? Integrating the two sides of the self, passing judgment on what comes across your table, so to speak, and the Emperor maybe setting some rules that are maybe not easy to set, but remembering that small bit of light can kind of lead you through those challenges. So I won't go through the rest of those, but that's how I would kind of incorporate this added layer on top of this larger reading. So friends, I have one more thing to show you. If I have forgotten anything on my list, I have it kind of up to the side. I think I got everything, but I'm going to show you one more and then we will wrap up. And I hope that you take a stab at this, how I use Oracle hashtag. It has been a lot of fun planning for it and prepping for it, again, because I use so many. I had my little notes going because I thought I don't want to leave anything out, but I use them honestly in so many ways. I'm sure I left something out. So last one that I have right here for you, if I can find it, is a year ahead animal spread. So this type of year ahead is the first one that I ever offered to my clients, and I used it a ton, at least for 3 years in a row. This was the only deck and quote-unquote spread that I used for the year ahead readings that I was offering. So this would just be 3 rows of 4, January, February. Sometimes I would offer this in the spring as well. I get a spring reading. I do other year aheads, but I do a spring one because that's when I kind of feel like my new year begins. When I'm actually energized and able to start focusing on, what's new for the year. So you can really do this at any time. So if we were doing it this month, though, we would do it for the month ahead: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, because I'm out of room, October, November, December. And then I would just summarize the energies of these different cards for each month for the client. So there's that, my staple year ahead deck when I started offering client readings. Beautiful cards, our frog with adaptability and, just kind of summarizing each animal's energy. And then that would be the focus for that person's month. And I set them with the intention of these are the energies that you will embody or embrace during the month in a positive way. So when we get something like crocodile, this is going to involve boundaries. But I wouldn't, when this came up, for example, I would not say, okay, you want to avoid this energy, watch out for this. I might throw that in there, but for the most part, I'm talking about the person I'm reading for embodying this energy as a strength. So that's how I set that. So on and so forth. Sea serpent and dragon, these are both spirit element animals, lots of magic coming for this make-believe person in the year ahead. So that's the last example that I have of how I use Oracle. If I get done with this video and I feel like I have just so much more to share with you, I would do a part 2. But honestly, I feel pretty good about these things and what I've shared. And now that I have this setup going and can do some more pre-recorded stuff, I can just show you other ways I use Oracle outside of this tag. But I think I've given you plenty of examples here. I hope you play along with this. Remember, it is hashtag how I use Oracle, started by Chris Kelly at Elemental Cartomancy. I will put a couple links in the description of the video for you so you can watch the original. And I know I've seen Laura at Aquamarine 18 also answer these prompts. So, well, not prompts really, but just showing us. So anyway, I will include at least those two. If you would like to play along, please do. Thank you so much for hanging out while I go through this how I use my Oracle tag. And I hope to see you again really soon with another pre-recorded video. Thank you. Love to you all.